Hey guys, JJ Racaza. I'm here with Tactical Hyve, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the gear that I use, why I use them, and how I place them on my body. First thing I want to talk about is the placement of my holster. That's really important because really that's ultimately what's going to give me a really good index point or a really good draw. And a good draw leads to a good grip leads to good cadence, good shooting, predictable type shooting. So with that said, the biggest thing for me is to have a consistent placement on my hip. I need to look for that specific spot where when I put my hands relaxed at sides, when I do this, I can feel this little piece of the magwell essentially hit a specific point into my forearm. That's what I call my initial indexing. So essentially I do this, I'll pull up my sleeve so you can see where it's gonna match. If I can have that touch in that same spot, I know that if I go as fast as I can, up and down on my draw, I will hit the specific spot that I need. And this is my initial indexing that I'm going to need right before I get my gun out. So now again, you can see how the butt of this frame of the gun will land right at the edge of my sleeve. And that gives me that perfect initial index setup. From there, I work on being able to just get my second index point, which is this part. If I can get to this point, I know I have a good initial grip and I can draw as fast as I can if I have to do one hand or if I have to do two hands at the end. But it all starts with the initial index point right there. So you'll see me sometimes when I set up right before a draw, I'll do a couple of practice runs to confirm where it is. And now when I do it full speed, I can now, right away, even if as fast as I go, I can get that perfect initial grip. So which allows me to be able to establish this really good aggressive speed and movement going towards the target. So that's a big thing for me. So to me, when I set up my holster, I need it, obviously, one, I have to abide by rules where it has to be a certain distance away from my hips and it has to be a certain height. I can drop this holster if I keep catching it lower, but obviously with certain rules, I have to put this at a certain height. So there are some limitations to what I want versus how the rules play. The second thing I'm gonna talk about is where my magazine pouches will lay. The way I have it set up is for the most efficient way to get a reload. Most of us will, while we're doing the reload, most of us will already start from this position. So I wanna have the least amount of movement. And how I have that set up for me is I put that first initial mag pouch in front, right in line with my seam, my pant seam right there. I put that there, and then since I have my holster set up already, I line that up, and I know that by the time I set this holster up, it'll come to exactly where I need it. That's gonna be the main point right there. And why is it there? Is because if I'm doing a reload, it gives me the least amount of movement of my hands to go right back up onto the magwell, right? So with that said, if I have to reach out here, what I'd have to do is, if that's where my first magazine is, I'd have to move and manipulate my body and move my shoulder or raise my shoulder a little bit to create that pathway so my hand can reach and index my magazine properly. So now that the rules allow me to be able to move and put my magazine pouches where I need them, I ended up pushing them to the front of my body and centered on my body. So now it's much easier for me to be able to come down and go right back up. As you can see, the difference of the movement when I reload from here versus if I reload from back here, there's a little bit more movement and exaggerated flex of my body as I come from this distance because I have to allow for my hand because it's sitting high enough to be able to clear that pathway and to be able to get all the way through and through. In summary, the placement of the magazine is really important. Second also is really the way I angle the mag pouches to a certain way. As you can tell, this one lays a little bit more flat. This one's a little bit more straight up. And then as you can see, the magazine now is a lot more straight up. And a lot of the reasons for that is I don't want my wrist to break in different angles. I just want my wrist to drop straight down and to go right back up. As you can see, my wrist never had to do this. The less movement, the less variabilities, the more consistency I get. So again, even though I have more movement back here, but as you can see, my wrist is still pretty flat and consistent. So when I pull out the magazine, it doesn't move. I don't have to do these small muscle adjustment, creating a consistent path and movement. The last thing I want to talk about in regards to my equipment is that my mag pouches, as you can see, it's wide open in the front. What that allows for me to do is to, one, have a really good index where I can have a contact with that mag right away. Second, I don't have to necessarily have this pull of pulling this magazine out and inserting into my mag well, right? I can now just pull from here and rotate and push straight up, which is one less movement, which is that little fraction of a second that I'm saving from going from here to here will allow me to save that much more time in my reload. So that's why I use that particular type of magazine pouch that has an opening in the front. For one, a good index. Two, pull straight up in towards the magazine as opposed to pulling it out and then into the magazine. Just another way to become more efficient. One less step, one less movement, one less variable. Hey guys, hope you guys liked the video. If you have your own tips and tricks, share the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. See you in the next one.